Hey guys, so I'm learning about this OJ case. This is wild. Do you guys know about this stuff? I was only 10 years old when it happened, so I didn't know. I understood it was a huge thing. I remember seeing the news articles on the stand in 7-Eleven right in front of my house, going there to get milk or whatever, and seeing and how long the trial was going on. This trial was insane what happened. Okay? I'm learning about it. There is so much to it. And one of the things is that OJ Simpson was basically one of the most loved people of all time. He was a football player for a long time. He was one of the best football players. He broke, I don't know if it was Joe Namath's record for the most yards ran. And when he got the award, he brought his entire team on, and he introduced every single guy by name and he made a comment about him. You see in that video and everywhere else, this was a man of God. First of all, he was a Christian, and he pronounced that on interviews. You can tell. Now, some might say that was deceptive, but from what I can tell, this was a really good person who really cared about people. Now, everybody's going to say, well, he could put that. Yes, I understand, but flow with me for a little bit. So that's before the murder happens. We see that, and the whole world loves this guy. And then he becomes an actor. He's on Naked Gun. He's funny. He was really caring, really loving. It seemed like a really good person. Never got in any trouble, right? He did everything right. He loved everybody, black people, white people. Everybody loved him. He really squelched racism, it seemed, or he was kind of a go-between. Some people didn't like that. A lot of the people in the black community didn't like that. They wanted him to speak out about it. And he said, well, I love Jesus. I have to just do what's right for me, like that. So now, you have this murder happen. His wife is murdered, okay? He has 2 children with this wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. We don't know who did this, okay? When a murder happens, you don't know. You have to collect data. You have to investigate things like that. The murder happens. I'm not going to get into all the details, but just talk about the Bronco situation, the Bronco race. And I remember seeing videos of that growing up. OJ's in a Bronco. They're going down the 5 or the 15, whatever it was, in California. And he's got, 10 police cars behind him. They're not overtaking him, though, and there's helicopters. It was huge news. Everybody's coming out of their houses by the hundreds and thousands. Run, OJ, run, go, OJ. That was the famous commercial he was in the Hertz commercial. There was like an old granny. Go, OJ, go. And then a bunch of Girl Scouts. Run, OJ. Right? This man was loved by so many. Out of nowhere, his wife is killed. Now, a lot of people jump to conclusions way before the trial, way before anything. He's guilty. One of those people was the newscaster who was in the helicopter who was filming it. He actually later became a transsexual. He's in this documentary talking about it, and he's saying at the time to the cops, go get that son of a bitch. Go kill him in the street. Excuse me? You might have just pronounced death on an innocent man. You don't know if he killed him. You have some weird assumption. Where is that coming from? It could be from your own stuff, your preconceived notions about the person. There's so many reasons why people jump to conclusions and think that person's guilty. It's almost like they want them to be guilty. The Bible says, do not let cursing come out of your mouth. A lot of people think that means the F word, the S word. It doesn't. It means that. Oh, the police should kill him in the street. That's cursing somebody, right? You're pronouncing death or ill will on somebody else. That should not come out of your mouth as a Christian. Doesn't mean filthy language. Now, that's a whole other thing. But there are verses that talk about not cursing, right? So here's OJ. He's in this Bronco. Guess what? He's not even driving. I thought he was driving from the cops. No, he's in the back with a pistol on his chin. Right before that, he had written a letter. He gave it to Robert Shapiro, who was his lawyer at the time. And Robert Shapiro reads it to the public. Before this, the LAPD chief or whoever it was comes out and says, OJ's a suspect. He's at large. We've lost track of him. We don't know where he is. This is before they had the helicopter vision of the Bronco. People are like, oh my God, what's going on, right? So now they read this letter And essentially it's a suicide letter. OJ's like, all I did was love Nicole. I can't believe what happened. I can't live with myself. Don't think of me as this broken person. Remember the old me. I love everybody. I love you guys. But I need to go. Essentially, people are saying, sounds like a suicide letter. Sounds like he's ready to go. So we heard that on the news, and then all of a sudden he's in the Bronco, and you find out he's on the phone with the police. They called him. They got his number. His best friend is driving. He's in the back with a pistol to his chin. He's leaning on it. Like he's literally ready to go. Now, you hear audio of the tape of the police chief or investigator who ends up talking to OJ on the phone. And you hear his voice. He's completely distraught. He's going, I just want to go, man. So where is he going? He's on his way to his mom's. He already said goodbye to his kids, right? The cop says, listen, OJ, you can't do it. We all love you. Everybody loves you, OJ. He's just trying to keep him. Meanwhile, the cop thinks he's guilty as hell. He wants to put him in jail. But he obviously doesn't want anything bad to happen. That bad, right? So he says, think about your kids. You can't do it because of your kids. He says, I already said goodbye to my kids. Whoa. Whoa. That's the words of a really suicidal person. Okay, if you know about psychology and how to be careful with these situations, man, he's putting his things in order. He's made a letter to the public. He said goodbye to his kids, and he's on his way to his mother's house as the police and the helicopter chases him. The cops don't take him over because he has a gun to his head. So they don't want to see anything bad. The entire nation, the entire world is watching this situation. This is after the 1992 riots because of the 4 cops who got acquitted for beating the crap out of Rodney King, an unarmed black man. On top of all the other cases of people in the black and brown community being harmed by police. So they cannot execute OJ in the middle of the highway or his home, which he ends up going to. They can't do it. So you hear him, and he's obviously distraught. Now, if you know about psychology and human psychology and sociology, and you listen to these tapes, you will hear and understand. Now, right, there can be 2 scenarios here, because a lot of people who believe he's guilty, they say, oh, look, he's just acting. He's trying to get away. He's playing the suicide card. Oh, he's a sociopath. Right? The cop was saying, he's obviously a sociopath. I said, shut your mouth. You're not a psychologist. You're not a PhD. You meathead. Right? He's obviously guilty. He's a sociopath. Oh, shut up. Anyway, forgive me for that. So, everybody's jumping to conclusions. Oh, yeah, this, that, the other thing. He's so guilty. Just listen. Oh. And then at the end of his letter, he put OJ with a smiley face in the O. Look at this narcissist. Who writes a smiley face when their wife is dead? Their hatred, they're seething. I want blood in the streets. Or is it that? Or is it, wow, this guy's wife just got murdered and he's really upset and doesn't want to live anymore? Do you really think if somebody murders their wife, they're going to be like visibly actually distraught on the phone with the police? Keep in mind, OJ went before that to the police, like willingly. He was interrogated. He willingly went. He left them in their house. He talked to the police. He talked to the investigators without any defense, without any lawyers. Everybody knows you don't do that. He did it. Because why? He was innocent. I'll tell you right now, you don't talk to if you're innocent, right? You have no problem talking to the detectives without counsel. I don't think you should ever, because they can twist your words. That's what the Fifth Amendment is about. You have the right. It's your right to remain silent. In other words, you don't have to talk to us, right? You have the right to counsel. If you can't afford it, we will afford you one. So because he's so confident in his innocence, he goes and talks to the police. No big deal. You can tell the distraught in his voice. Then they first bring him when he has to enter the plea, or enter the, whether he says he's guilty or not. I'm still learning all the legal language. Right? He's there, and he's just like depressed. He can't even look up. This is the look of a man whose wife just got murdered, doesn't know how, and he's just like, what? And he kept saying, he's like, I've done everything good in my life. Now they're trying to pin this on me. He says, I don't know why they're trying to pin this on me. In my estimation, I don't know for sure, But I am large percent of me believes that this is a genuine person who is being framed and being set up, which is what the trial at the end ended up playing out and showing. The jury believed that very thing, that he was being set up, and the evidence was planted to frame this guy. Right? What was the motive? Racism, which was a huge motive by the cop who found all the evidence, who potentially they think might have planted it. He's on record. He sued the police department because of all the years of working in the community. He says he hates black people so much that it has poisoned his brain. His hatred of black people has poisoned his brain. This is his words. And he sues because he says it's their fault because you're the one who put me in these communities. He said the N-word over 30 times on the tape after he claimed that he never said it. He would pull over interracial couples. He would break the legs and arms of black guys just for fun. This is like he admitted this stuff. It's on record. It's written down. And that's the guy who finds all the evidence single-handedly for an interracial couple, for a black guy. You watch the black guy, OJ, who's always been loved, never any problems. It seems like he's being set up. Johnny Cochran knew it. And so for once, there was a victory. There was a victory for the black man in the court system. That's what the OJ trial was about for a lot of people. They saw the racism going on, and every time it was passed, it was passed. It was never recognized, right? 1966, there's a black couple. Woman's pregnant, husband's driving, trying to get his wife, who's in labor, I believe it was. Yeah, she was in labor. He's trying to get her to the hospital, gets pulled over by two white cops. Two white cops ask him, "What are you doing?" The husband says, "Hey, she's in labor. Can you please help me pick her up and bring her into the hospital?" Cop leans over, shoots the guy dead. No reason whatsoever. They have the wife there. She's explaining what happened. She can't even speak. She's crying. Of course. They executed this guy. And what do you know? Those cops got off. Of course. It keeps happening. So OJ was that situation where they overstepped their bounds, right? They tried to set a black guy up for murder of his white wife because they hate it. If you know anybody who's truly racist and hates interracial couples, you know they would do something like that if they had the power and they thought they could get away. They hate that kind of thing. Do you understand what hate does to people? People want to talk about motive and they say, "Oh, well, OJ was jealous of Nicole because they got a divorce and she was dating other guys." That's true, right? But you have to look at the other side too, because you have to presume that the defendant is innocent, right? That's our court system. That's our constitutional right. We are presumed innocent. So we need to presume OJ's innocent, not just say, "Hey, the cop should execute him." What in the world? Did you hear any evidence? Are you the jury? No. So we presume OJ is innocent, okay? And that's what they did. The state presented their evidence. The evidence was wonky, to say the least. And then there was this reasonable doubt that, you know what? Maybe he got set up, right? And he's entering his non-guilty plea. He can barely speak. They ask him to speak up. They can't hear him. This is big, boisterous, outgoing OJ. He can't even speak. He says, "What? I'm confused. What? Not guilty." Right? He comes in the second time. He says, I'm being set up. I don't know what's going on. He complied with the police, everything like that. Now, there is a situation where he was caught for domestic violence. The police let him off. You know, they were lenient with him. So at one point, he was supposed to turn himself in, and he bounced out the back in his car. Okay, so there's that history. Yes. So why did the police do that again after they thought he murdered his wife and Ron Goldman? After they thought he murdered them, the police, I believe 2 times, let him turn himself in. They never went and got him. Next thing you know, he's in a Bronco about to kill himself. That's their fault. If they had taken him in, that would have never happened. And the police agree with me on that one. That's what the detectives were saying. Well, this was a complete fudge job. What happened here? It was an embarrassment. So, it's wild. The story is so wild, guys. If you really look into it. And then you look into Johnny Cochran and who he was, right? So that story I was saying about the couple with the husband who got murdered by the police, that was Johnny Cochran's one of his first cases. He lost, but he kept going. He was a civil rights lawyer. He wasn't a criminal trial murder lawyer. I believe OJ's was his maybe first or one of his first. But Johnny Cochran knew what he was doing. He knew what was happening, and he saw what the police were up to. He saw what they were doing and how they were trying to set him up, and he didn't allow it. And thank God justice was done. So, pretty interesting stuff, guys. I'm going to keep talking about it. You guys know I'm into law now, and it's just super interesting for me. I believe law, to me, it's kind of connected to psychology and education, and it shows me how important people are. Right? The case of Andrea Yates, who kills her 4 children, who was a Christian, right? The case of Linnie Chamberlain, who was accused of killing her baby, but she claims that it was attacked by a dingo and caught. The case of this person, the case of that person. Why? Why is this so important? Because the criminal justice law system, especially innocent until proven guilty, and the defense lawyers who are protecting these people so that they can't just be, their life can be taken away from them, right? And just put in jail for no reason, innocently, which happens all the time, a lot. To me, it's like God speaking. These are my people. I've created every single person important and special, and they deserve respect. The entire Constitution is based on that idea. They say our rights are given to us. These are inalienable rights given to us, endowed to us by our Creator. The Founding Fathers understood to trample on these rights is ungodly. It's satanic. So if you see what's going on with the Trump administration right now, trampling on people's rights, it's satanic. These are God-given rights. No person, no human being has the right to take these things from us. America is based on this idea. So I believe strongly in it, and I believe with these individual cases, you're learning about humanity, this very precious person that God has created. Something went wrong in their life. Maybe they are guilty. Maybe they did do some serious crime. Maybe they're innocent. Maybe they were defending themselves. Maybe they're partially guilty, but not, right? Maybe it's manslaughter and not murder. And it's important to find out exactly what happened. And I believe it's God, and He creates everybody so special to Him. And we take the time to listen. What happened? Right? Even if they are guilty, if it's Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy or the Menendez brothers, right? Or Ted Bundy or the Son of Sam. I've watched all these cases. Even Albert Fish, if you guys know him. The guy in England who the movie M is based on, who's really one of the worst criminals I've ever heard of. Some of the worst crimes I've ever seen in my life. To hear out what happened, what went wrong, even if you are guilty, like why did you do what you did? You know, you may have to serve time. You may have to have some kind of consequence, because that's God too. There is consequence in life, but everybody deserves the fair share. Hear me out. Listen, this is what happened, right? Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, he tried to get help. I mean, he should have tried harder to get help. Otherwise, he might have not been where he was. But a lot of people try to get help and they don't find it. So it's the same with, for me, education and psychology. Understanding how important every single person is to God. These people are precious. They're precious. The fact that there are laws in almost every country in the world shows God's order. People are supposed to have a good life, right? Peace, the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of justice. Even the smallest infraction, you go up to somebody and smack them in the face, that's called assault. You go up to somebody and verbally assault them using racial slurs, that's also assault. You can get in trouble for that. Why? Because people are so important. This is based on God's law. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Super interesting stuff. Probably going to be talking more about OJ. This is a really interesting case. It's one of the most interesting out there, really. You know, can we know for sure that he's innocent? No, but all we can do is hear all of the evidence, hear everybody's side, and then make a distinction. What ends up happening is people make jump decisions without knowing the story, without knowing the full. And this is for everybody. This is psychology. You might think you know, and then hear one thing that totally turns your mind. Wait a second. No, hold on. Okay, tell me more. Show me more. Okay. Okay, right? That's what the jury is for. That's a constitutional right. We all have the right to a jury by our peers. Not that the judge or the executive department or the legislative department or the police department or the ICE can say, no, you're guilty, you get this punishment, bye-bye. Now, they're trying to change all that. So, keep it real, guys. Love you. Keep coming back. I'll talk to you later. Peace.